Gnashing of Teeth podcast. This is episode 4. I'm Casey.
And I'm Milo.
Um, Today we have a really interesting subject about possession and exorcism and how it correlates with the occult, the left-hand path, how it is with religion and modern religion. And there's a lot of different topic and a lot of I'm sure it'll cause a little bit of debate here, and Milo and I are going to get into it. Milo, what do you think about possession as far as the occult and how that, and then in modern religion and what those differences are?
Right. So when we think of possession, we think of usually like a demon possessing a child. We look at it in a very Christian lens, and we always seem to always target demons when it comes to possession, if possession is, naturally real. And on the topic, it seems like a lot of people tend to agree that 90% of possession cases are usually all mental and mental illness, and about 10% that there might be something there. When exorcisms and possessions have been seen throughout all of history, culture, religions, things like that. And it never really got popular, especially into Hollywood. I shouldn't say Hollywood, but it never really got popular until Christianity, it seems like. And we always seem to, I guess, target the demon portion of it. If we think about, like, let's just say Jesus and, you know, priests, they call upon God to exorcise the demon or negative entity out of the possessed person. It seems to be all about belief and, the power of which the name you're um kind of invoking, I guess you could say. So I've never seen a possessed person. Obviously, I've never done an exorcism, but I think it's very misconstrued. It's very misinterpreted, and a lot of it can be explained by mental illness. But if there is something there, the 10%, as some people would say, it likely is a lesser entity, or you could even say energy that is attached to somebody and could need an exorcism. And it doesn't matter if you go the Catholic route of a priest exorcising, or even if you wanted to call upon, let's just for the sake of it, Hecate. If you believe in that power and you're not necessarily forceful, but belief, and you have that connection to that, it'll likely make the lesser entity disappear. Your
Yeah,
thoughts?
yeah. So I obviously have been reading Lever and All. Again, I talk about Peter Carroll all the time, and he has a point in there on exorcism where he he says that if you have kind of a mental illness and you have a lot of stress and you've got this like dark kind of soul, and then you can kind of manifest this thing on your own. um I was watching a guy on TED Talks. His name was Hassan something, and he thinks it's 100%, you know, multiple personality disorder. And but like you said, it's hard to prove that, right? Because that's been an on. I mean, that
Yeah.
was that was the whole narrative of wasn't that the whole narrative of like Emily Rose and the original Exorcist, where they're like, hey, I think we should see a priest, and they're like, no, she needs to take pills, and it's always an odd thing. And it's interesting
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I don't hear about it a lot in the occult. Bits and pieces. You hear about it more in like religion, right? But the crazy thing is
Really,
like
yep.
some
Hmm.
of the exorcism pieces of it, right? So like obviously the Catholic Church, they kind of have
Hmm.
you kind of go through them if you want a priest to come do exorcism. Um, and then also,
Right.
obviously Jesus was performing exorcisms in the Bible.
Hmm.
Well, when he made the pigs all run off the cliff or whatever, and all the demons fled.
Hmm. Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
that was when they told him we're legion because we are many. But then there was
Hmm.
also a story. It was a TV show that was based on a true story, and the guy was like,
Hmm.
they called this plumber, and they asked the plumber, "You got to be at this house at 5 o'clock, no earlier, no later." And it's the plumber telling the story, and so he gets there early and he's counting down, and at like 4:59 he knocks on the door, and at 5 o'clock the door opens. He walks in, and there's these three children on the ground, like shaking, and there's this woman who's
Hmm.
obviously not a shaman or a priest, but she's performing an exorcism, and she needs a vessel for it to go, and so that's why the plumber had to be there, and she had pushed all that entity into the plumber. And then the plumber, got sick, whatever, went home. And then he started, crazy things started happening to him. And he went back to the house. And of course, it was empty. And he ended up getting his house exercised or whatever. But that was a true story, supposedly. So, it's more
Right.
than there's people who know how to do it, I guess. I suppose,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
suppose the theory would be, uh, the higher demons, like, probably wouldn't be interested in that, but maybe a lesser
Hmm.
like entity, you know?
Right. And throughout, like, I guess you could say religions and cultures and things, they typically associated possessions, I guess. And it could have been a lot of it could have been obviously mental illness, and they didn't have the scientific purposes as they do now, or
Mm.
the scientific knowledge as they do now. But I think there's always, a possibility that there's something else there. Obviously, the 10% that could be actually real. And, you know, throughout cultures, they always considered it, evil, or you could even say, in like Hinduism or things like that, demons of their own sorts. And it's it's a tough subject. And a lot of people have their own opinions. And obviously, we'd love to hear everybody's opinion on this in the comments, or email us at gnashingofteethpodcast at gmail.com. But yeah, it sparks a real debate.
So like, well, let me ask you this: if if Lilith wanted to possess you, would would you be open to that, or like what? How do you think? What do you think would happen?
So, from what I've read and seen, there's channeling. If you're like a medium, you can channel entities and spirits, and that could be seen as a form of possession, which is a whole nother, topic. But I've read, I don't know where, but a lot of, let's just say, high ranking daemons or higher vibrational entities that are powerful, you could consider gods or goddesses. Yes, they can't possess somebody for a long amount of time because your body isn't naturally able to contain it, right? I can contain your quote unquote soul, but a goddess of such magnitude trying to go into a body, it wouldn't be capable, I guess you could say. Compatible is a better word. I read that somewhere and I've kind of stuck with that. If I wanted to channel Lilith, let's say I could, but probably would be very extremely unhealthy. to do it for a long period of time. Like when you see possessions that last, weeks upon weeks upon weeks, it seems to be a lesser entity that's attached itself to a person, I guess you could say. Would I be open to it? I mean, perhaps it depends on the relationship, right? If I just went to a random demon that I didn't know and said possess me, that could probably lead to some bad things happening. But
I've also seen, or I've ran across, the possession of like animals and objects. And so some people
Mhm.
say that that's possible. Ed and Lorraine Warren, right? They're those demonologists. They did like the Conjuring, and they did all those. They went to
Mhm.
Amityville. They were like those investigators on the paranormal side of things, and they were kind of like, hey,
Right.
an object cannot be possessed, but there could be a spirit that's attached to the object. Therefore, the object's moving around
Right.
and whatever, but it's not the object. It's whatever's next to it, manipulating it or whatever.
Right. It's like a spirit house for like a familiar, if we're talking like witchcraft. It's the bridge to the world for the entity, right? That's
Mhm.
attached itself to the object in theory. So it helps them get to the physical plane and they can manifest better via that object that they choose to attach to.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah,
It definitely is probably one of the more touchy subjects, and no one really wants to get into it, seems like. I'm sure there's someone somewhere who's who's talking about it, is diving in there. But as far as
right.
like left hand path and like modern day, religion, there's definitely a big difference between, the two of those.
Right. Well, modern day religion views possession as negative, and you could even look at it as a left-hand path practitioner as negative in some cases, but I think left-hand path practitioners or people that practice like witchcraft or things like that would view it more as channeling as a medium. Obviously, you could get something very negative that could need exercise.
Yeah.
And a lot of people choose the Catholic Church to do the exorcism because it seems to quote unquote work, right? Jesus is a powerful name,
Yeah.
right? If you got millions upon millions of people every Sunday going to church worshiping him, there's got to be some sort of power lifted to him that has power over something. In theory, in theory.
I would totally agree with that. Yeah. He was a bad dude. Um, yeah. I don't know if we'll ever completely find out, but from what you said earlier, I've only heard of it in movies. I've only heard of possession like in the Bible, and I don't know anyone that's ever been possessed. I don't think I know anyone that has COVID either, but that's who cares. But anyway, yeah, I have no
Yeah,
idea about that. It's just so scarce and so rare that
right.
whatever, I don't know. It's an interesting thing, right? Because
Yeah,
when you think of, here we are talking about the fallen angels and how they can help you, and then you think about possession. It's a very contradicts kind of yourself and everything. So it was a cool thing to bring up, and kind of discuss it. And of course, if anyone's got info more than we do, hit us up,
right. Yeah,
hit us in the
100%.
comments, or hit the email. Well, so speaking of like
Yeah.
negative things, I am reading this guy right here. Boom. Seal, Sigil, and Call.
Okay.
Okay. Now this is by
Mhm.
J.R. Mascaro. Uh, and I'm only like halfway through, and it's really good. But there's a piece in here I wanted to bring up because we were going to talk about possession and the positive and negative things, and so he's got this thing with magic that I'm sure this is a universal law, right? But he was writing, if you're going to do magic and have intention, it should really be about building the higher self, your higher spiritual self is what it should be. Now, and that's a
Mhm.
positive thing. You can also use magic as a positive thing. Uh, with it's a little lesser than building your spiritual, but you can ask for material things as well. You know, it's more of a
Mhm.
selfish move, but you're not hurting anybody. But then there's of course like bad intention that you can, someone does you dirty, and you want something done back, and you want to do some, you want to do some black magic on them. That you have to be prepared for that karma, the yin yang, to come back on you somewhere somehow, right? And
Right.
I don't know if it necessarily means you, but like say you cause harm on someone and then it happens, and then every dog you buy for the rest of your life dies in a week, right?
Right. Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
you never put the two together, but like that's right. The negative. I
Mhm.
think it actually is a Wiccan thing where they say always be positive. Don't do the if you're negative, you're just going to come back.
R- Right. So it's interesting. What you put out, you get, vice versa. It's an interesting topic. And, things that come to mind that are popular are obviously karma, which is Hinduism and Buddhism. And another thing like you talked about, which is very Wiccan, is the rule of three, which I'm pretty sure is whatever you put out, it's going to return to you like threefold, right? So if you go out and you make a hex, for instance, or you hex somebody, some now the rule of three is very controversial. I should put that out there. Not a lot of Wiccans follow it, but some are like diehard about it. So it's a very touchy thing. I don't necessarily believe it or not believe it. It's just kind of there. But if you were to go out and hex somebody and that person, let's just say, truly deserves it, right? Are you still going to get hit with the quote unquote rule of three or karma if that person deserves it? Like, you think that, there's a universal, not necessarily law, but the universe is going to look at that and be like, that person deserved it? Like, perhaps, negative energy was coming your way anyways. So if like you just started breaking a bunch of glasses or your car broke down, it might not relate to the hex itself in a sense, right? Do you think that lost my train of thought?
Well, I think that I don't think you'd ever be able to put them together. So whatever pain you caused on someone, so say it goes out and gets one of your family members. Well, that's going to cause you the same pain. It might not physically have attacked you, but
Right.
say one of your loved ones gets in a car wreck and is just twisted and mangled. Well, so that's the karma coming back, and you have to now live. You and I would probably piece that back together. Most people would just say it's fate or coincidence or whatever, but I don't know. I don't know. You can't.
Right. Right. But like if you can't pinpoint it because you don't know if that stuff was going to happen anyways.
Right.
Right. It'd have to be totally dramatic, like you push, let's just say, a quote unquote curse to somebody that doesn't deserve it at all, and now your life turns to absolute hell instantly. Then you could be like, okay, well, maybe the universe judged that. Maybe the law of three came back, right, towards me.
Mm.
But there's people that, quote unquote, hex somebody and nothing bad comes out of it. So did that person deserve it and the universe give a pass to that? Did the law just be like, we'll sweep it under the rug?
There was a there was a guy on, I think he's on TikTok somewhere, and he's like, "Hey, I don't believe in it. I don't believe in, witches. I don't believe in witchcraft. I don't believe in spells. I don't believe in hexes. So I'm reaching out to any of you to put something on me. And so
Mhm.
someone's like done, and like a week later he's like, I don't feel nothing. And someone else will say, oh, I'm gonna do this to you. And then he's like, okay, bring it. And he's like, I feel great. I'm doing great. I got a great job, love my
Right.
life, things are good, right? I just won $10 on a scratcher. You guys aren't touching me, you know. And so it's
Mhm.
oddly enough, maybe they're doing them wrong,
Right.
but things could be affecting all around him, right? And selfishly,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm fine. Look at me, I'm fine. I got all my fingers, things
Mhm.
are good, but he doesn't realize, like, his neighbor died and his best friend lost a leg, and he's not putting it together,
Right.
right?
Potentially. Yeah,
Yeah, potentially.
definitely. Potentially. What I read a book on uh, baneful magic, hexing, cursing, and all that, and it it talks about how it's a lot of emotional. You're putting in all this emotional energy, anger, usually sadness, into, like, let's just say, a curse, and it's twofold. It's helping you vent about the situation and what you're trying to quote unquote curse. And the idea of forgetting about it is, hopefully you're not checking up on the person constantly, right? Because you're going to see that they're probably doing fine, right? In theory. But in theory, they could be, having a miserable, family life and things like that. And most of the books that I've read say that a lot of people don't have the, I guess you could say, skills to perform a hex or a curse that, like, actually works. Because at some point you're going to do something wrong and it's just going to void, I guess you could say. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, don't get me wrong. I've had situations where, someone does me dirty, and inside my head I'm like, oh, god damn that person, I curse their name. But I don't come back and do like blood magic to try to, you know, really, really hurt them. I just am mad and I get over it. But I'm sure, and I probably know them, some people that probably out there like trying to like literally spell off and hurt people,
yeah,
which is which is sad. But I mean, it's out
yeah,
there to do it. So why wouldn't people do it,
right, right, 100%.
right? Don't run with
Yeah,
scissors. Well, don't make scissors because someone's gonna run with them. You know.
yeah,
But I thought that was really cool that magically you can really be positive and just totally use it on building your inner spiritual being. You know, which is
yeah,
super super cool. Super cool. Or absolutely destroying your ego,
right,
which is also pretty necessary at times. Well, that was
for
okay.
sure.
A couple of cool subjects there. Um,
Definitely. And if anybody's got any comments on that, or
yeah, and
any,
we've been getting some views, and we've been getting some subs and getting some comments, and we really appreciate that and want people to continue. Um, help us learn. Let's keep building this thing. Let's keep learning together, and let's get rid of some of the mystery, and you
yeah,
know make it something. You know,
we're all students of the occult.
that's right. That's right. You think it's ever going to be taught in like a school? You think it'll ever be big enough to where there's a course you can take, like in a college, where there's this part of like
Yeah,
theology
but
or something that just goes into like some occult stuff? That'd be so cool.
it would, it would, it would. But I don't know. It just depends on how religion takes it, right? If there was, like, big occult class, or you think of like a school that's just dedicated solely for it, or some Harry Potter type stuff. And I don't think that would be received quite well from the public, and that's probably why it hasn't happened and may never will happen. But it
Yeah,
would definitely be cool.
it'd be so
Definitely
cool.
be cool.
Well, it's not going to happen in Brigham Young, and it's not going to happen over in Notre Dame, right?
Right.
Like we
Yeah.
we know that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you know, Ohio State, why couldn't they do it? They don't care.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, I'll probably get some heat for that. I'm a Buckeye fan, by the way. I'll probably get heat for that anyway.
Oh, speaking of football,
What?
by the time by the time this comes out, I don't know when this will come out, but while we're recording this, Super Bowl tomorrow, Chiefs or Eagles? Always the Chiefs, right?
I can't root for the Eagles.
I know.
I'm
I
not allowed to. I'll never be able to for the rest of my life. I hope Mahomes puts up like 190,000 points.
Yep,
So
100%.
Philly will probably win, but I don't want them to. I want the Chiefs to win. Sorry, Philly
Yeah.
fans. All right, all right, okay. Hey, the time just kicked. We're winding down right now. Okay, so I guess this will be the end of podcast 4. I thought this was a good one. Some touchy subjects. I did want to bring that out because I wanted to get some feedback on what everyone thought about it. It's really touchy. I get it. Um,
Yeah,
especially the possession exorcism thing, and as far as where that lines up in the occult, right?
right. Mhm.
Really interesting stuff. So let's do this. Let me end it with you. Do you have anything to land on for this one?
Uh, no, I enjoyed the topics. I do also think that they're touchy, but I think that a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on it, and people are far in one area or the other, and it can bring some generally good discussion. And
Sure.
I think nobody will ever truly know if, people are truly possessed or if it's mental illness, and only, through continuously learning and reading more books and even scientific advancements, we'll continue to learn. And yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right. All right, Top G. It was good seeing you. And
All right, it was good.
remember, Gnashing of Teeth podcast at Gmail. Hit us up. And yeah, and stay tuned for the next one. All right, buddy. I'll hook up with you here on the next one.
All right, see you.